let's finish up on Othello, page 70. I mean, not the play, the character. So here we are talking about that one. I think Othello talks about this too, right? To prove the love of horror thing. Does he? So anyway, we're to the point now where we were looking at. I'd been happy at the general camp, diners and all. I tasted her sweet body, and then Othello's occupation gone. Villain, be sure thou prove my love of horror. Be sure that you give me the ocular proof. All right. So he wants the and do we remember what I was saying? Why he wanted proof of that? About the only possible way you can be certain whether or not the person you love is a whore. Yeah. So when he so we had this thing. Instead of unconscious and conscious, I want to do desire 1 and desire 2, because I decided I no longer know what conscious and unconscious means. So, do you? It seems like a weird thing, right? What do you mean unconscious? Like, what's a conscious desire? Like a cheeseburger? Still want a cheeseburger from the first day of class. So this was content, but content is dependent on certainty. And the only way you can get certainty is prove my love of horror, which kills that. So you get this unfortunate. Is there a word for that? Sure, I like it. All right. Okay, so let's look at line 390 on the next page. Okay, so I'll be Othello. I'll be Othello. You be Eagmus. Who wants to be an Eagmus? I'm Othello and I need an Eagmus because I changed the name. Paper, rock, scissors. You're in? You want to be Othello? You can be Othello and you can be Iago.
Okay.
All right, start with wood.
Would? Nay, and I will.
And may, but how? How satisfied, my lord, would you, the supervisor, grossly grape on, behold her talk?
All right, freeze for 1 second. We're gonna keep. All right, everybody absorb that fully. So what's he doing? So Iago's painting a picture here, right? So what's Iago doing in this fantasy scenario? So he's supervising the grossly gaping on, right? This is exactly the scenario from the unmentionable lecture, the unmentionable thing. This is exactly. I mean, that could be stage directions. Please continue.
Death and damnation. Oh.
It were a tedious difficulty, I think, to bring them to that prospect. Damn them, then. If ever mortal eyes do see them bolster more than their own, what then? How then? What shall I say? Where is satisfaction? It is impossible you should see this. Were they as prime as goats, as hot as monkeys, as salt as wolves in pride, and fools as gross, as ignorance made drunk. But yet, I say, if imputation and strong circumstances, which lead directly to the door of truth, will give you satisfaction, you might have it.
Give me a living reason she's disloyal.
Okay, thank you. So that's fun, right? So give me a living reason she's disloyal. So he's getting all amped up from the. So Iago's painting this fantasy porn scene, right, of Desdemona getting topped, and not only is she getting topped, it's pretty hot topping, right? Here we go again. right, Daniel, if you can not say it, then you get an extra martini tonight. Okay. So it's impossible you should see this. Were they as prime as goats, as hot as monkeys, as salt as wolves in pride? So this is that. Again, do you remember the lecture that I told you to forget? Yeah, that's pretty much right on, right? Okay. See how not completely. That wasn't a digressive lecture. It was just embarrassing. And then so Othello's response. He gets put. You know, he's seated. The fantasy picture is painted. We've got this hot monkey goat sex going on. And then Othello's response is, just prove it, man. So, you know, like, just, he wants it to be real. Or something, I guess. I mean, does somebody want to give me a different reason, or give me a living reason she's disloyal? Like, they're that. Like, why, no, it can't be so. Or, I hope you're wrong. Or, prove it, you know? Iago doesn't like The Office. Okay, and then it gets weirder. Do you want to keep going with Iago, or do you want to pass the torch?
I can.
All right, do it.
I do not like The Office, but sith I am entered in this cause so far, pricked to by foolish honesty and love, I will go on. I lay with Cassio lately, and being troubled with the ragged tooth, I could not sleep. There are a kind of men so loose of soul that in their sleep will mutter their affairs. One of this kind is Cassio. In sleep I heard him say, "Sweet Desdemona, let us be wary, let us hide our loves." And then, sir, would he write and wring my hand, cry, "Oh, sweet creature," then kiss me hard, as if he plucked up kisses by the roots. That grew upon my lips, laid his legs over my thigh, and sigh and kiss, and then cry, "Cursed fate, that gave thee to the morn."
Oh, monstrous. Monstrous!
Nay, this was but his dream.
Okay. So, so what happened there? So first of all, did this really happen? No. This is just, this is Iago, so we remember Iago's plan B. First of all, you know, according to the hypothesis, he really wants man to be of noble nature and above all of this. But his conflicting desire that canceled it out was that he's an expert at getting people's animal passions all riled up. So, you know, they just gets, you know, reason gets steamrolled. So he gets Othello's so-called animal passions riled up by painting these porn scenes, right? And he continually does this. So first he's got the little cuckold porn thing, and then he's got this weird thing with I mean, and it works on, so ostensibly, so it's he's imagining Cassio is Desdemona in his dream, right? Is that right? Or does he think Cassio's Cassio? So he's I lay with Cassio lately. And by the way, this was not something that was, you know, you didn't, like, the lieutenant did not sleep with the ensign or the ancient. This was not a common quartering arrangement. So it's a little bit weird. But so what's going on? He's laying with Cassio, and he's awake because he's got a toothache, right? Who has a toothache? Iago has a toothache. So he's sitting there awake, and then Cassio starts grabbing his hand, whispering sweet nothings to him, right?
Why would you wake someone up if they were doing that?
Whose fantasy is this, man? And then starts kissing on him, like, real hard, and then throws the old leg over for the good old whatever you want to call that. So and then so boy, we've got, and then Othello's really into this. Oh, monstrous. But he, like, in a couple lines later, this is where I'll tear her all to pieces. I don't know, is that hot? goats and monkeys.
Isn't like a mom saying, I'm gonna eat you up?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'll,
Expressing an intense emotion.
so, my reading of this is, you know, so we've got this, I call it a quasi-gay porn scene. Because I say it's not really gay, it's more like transvestite gay. And apparently transvestite, this is something else I learned from that book that I'm never going to read again. But apparently, I did not know this, that transvestites are almost exclusively an object of fascination for self-identified gay men, or straight men. Like people who say that they're gay are generally not into it. And so they're into the so-called she-male stuff. So this scene, we've got Iago describing Cassio physically making love to a man, but psychologically making love to a woman. So, you know, it's okay, man, right? It's like, dude, I thought you were a chick. I don't know, maybe it's okay. Anyway, not that anything's not okay. But Othello's really riled up from this. And I remember that so I'll tear her to pieces. So him being violently aroused, you know, from the neurocircuitry similarities, that him being violently aroused also means that he's very close to being otherwise aroused, right? Do you remember that? Okay. And then monstrous, I'll tear her to pieces. And then the next page, which this is one of the reasons I can't see Othello performed, because when he says this, I cannot stop laughing. And I see someone, in all seriousness, deliver these lines. I'm on 444. He's riled up all the way. Arise, black vengeance, from the hollow hell. Yield up, O love, thy crown. O love, thy crown and hearted throne, to tyrannous hate. Swell, bosom, with thy fraught, for 'tis of auspices, tongues. So, arise, black. Goodness, you know what, I shouldn't even try to teach this. So, Othello feels his manhood in getting aroused. So, Black Vengeance, best pet name ever.
Yes.
See? Sober up. This is Shakespeare. This is serious stuff, man. So, and then for anybody that's still into that whole homosocial triangulation thing, we get a nice little homosocial bonding thing, right, on the next page. So, if we didn't have to get all the way through Desdemona today on top of this, I would bring somebody up and we would act this out. So, because that'd be funny. So they, anybody remember what happens here? So, they go down to their knees, both of them. Do not rise yet. Iago kneels. And then witness, they evoke this ceremonial thing, and they rise. Othello, I greet thy love, not with vain things, but with acceptance, bounteous, blah blah. Iago swears that he's going to kill Cassio for him. She's done at your request. Let her live, damn her, damn her. I don't care about her. Thou art my lieutenant. I am your own forever. So they, I think, was it Garber that said this was like a mock wedding? We get a little bit of that. I mean, this is just some textbook, you know, guys bonding over the imagined violence against the female body or whatever, right? You know, probably a lot of these theories actually, like, you know, and they think it's, oh, well, look, Shakespeare proved this, but the theory actually is probably just an interpretation of Shakespeare. Okay? It's like with Freud too, you know, like, a lot of people get blown away with how right Freud was about Shakespeare, but Freud read a lot of Shakespeare, and a lot of times he's just interpreting Shakespeare plays. Yeah. All right. So, Exchange vows, blah, 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 blah. I put, so Othello and Iago kneel together, exchange vows, declare their everlasting mutual love, even without a Supreme Court decision. Because I'm all about staying contemporary. So, we got this, and then relationship with knowledge. So what's this relationship with knowledge now?
Listens to Iago.
Yeah. So Iago's something or other. Yeah, I wrote porn on the board. Contradictory desire is the problem. Wow, that's the best handwriting ever. And contradictory desires. And then, so, must have certainty or erased memory. I put eternal sunshine of the spotless mind on my note card, but that's too long to write on the board. Okay, fabulous. All right, so let's go to page, I think that's at 85. Or no, let's go to 83 first. All right, so beginning of Act 4. So here we have the bros again. And then, yeah, just bringing it up slightly in conversation. Well, you think so? Think so, Iago? And then this is the weird, the echoing thing's another fun thing to look at, but we're not going to. What, to kiss in private? An unauthorized kiss? Or to be naked with her friend in bed an hour or more, not meaning any harm? Naked in bed, so, I mean, what's he talking about here? He's just, anyone, is he talking about something that he saw? Is he even pretending to be talking about something that he saw? He just completely dropped the pretense here. He's just, just imagining, just throwing out imaginary scenarios of just naked people lying in bed not doing anything. What has that to do with anything? He's not making any claim that they did this. He's just throwing it out there, just toying with the poor cat. And then does this great rhetorical trick where he equates the handkerchief with her virtuousness, and then she would just throw the handkerchief down, but she would just throw her arm down, and it works because Othello's not that stupid though, right? This is where I think Cavell might be onto something, because I feel like that Othello's just not that stupid. That like he wouldn't fall for this unless he wanted to. Unless we're all that stupid. I guess that's kind of the point, huh? All right. So by 93, oh yeah, this is where he, so Iago's now turned the coolest, most level-headed and rational human. As Desdemona says, he's incapable of jealousy, remember, to a blubbering idiot that smacks his wife in polite company. So, yeah, that's awkward, right? I know that when I go to the other professor's house, the senior professor, and he smacks his wife at dinner, it's awkward. That didn't really happen. You wonder though. Okay. So I say to read 253 plus, but you get the, yeah, so let's just look at it. Lodovico calls her truly an obedient lady, and we'll see that that's a problem. But and then Othello's kind of pointing out the exact letter of her obedience. You did wish that I would make her turn, sir. She can turn and turn, and yet go on and turn again, and she can weep, sir, weep, and she's obedient, as you say, obedient, very obedient. Proceed you in your tears concerning this, oh, well-painted passion. So what's he suggesting? That, is he saying that Desdemona's being honest and forthright? really being obedient? How does Othello view her obedience? Yeah, that's exactly right. And then finally we have Desdemona exits. Cassio shall have my place. So that's loaded, right? Cassio shall have my place. What does that mean? All right. In the matter of the state, what does that mean? Yeah. In personal matters, what does that mean? Yeah. And sir, tonight I entreat that we may sup together. You are welcome, sir, to Cyprus. And then goats and monkeys. Remember where goats and monkeys was from? So what's he picturing in his head as this is happening? Yeah, having the hot goat and monkey sex, right? But see, what he needs to do is be more specific, because if he's talking about chimpanzees, as we know, that's one thing. And if he's talking about bonobos, it's something entirely different. I don't think they knew the difference between chimpanzees and bonobos back then. Any history of science people in here? No? Okay. Fine. I guess that's my job. Alright. And then, yeah, okay, that's fine. Let's go to... Alright, let's go back a page to 94. I guess that's not a back a page. Let's go forward a page to 94 for a few pages. Alright. So this is when Othello is sort of grilling Amelia, and then Othello's, what did they never whisper? Whisper's an important thing. Remember whisper. Everybody whisper, 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 whisper. Okay. And then so Amelia's doing what? Selling Desdemona out, lying on behalf of Iago. What's she doing?
Backing Desdemona out.
Yeah. And then Othello's response is sort of, how would we characterize Othello's response? Let's look at something he says. He says, that's strange. What, did they never whisper?
Willful denial.
Willful denial. Anyone got something else from that?
He always seems very stubborn.
Okay.
Right? Because he has it in his head, like, it's not that strange as in, maybe not, but more of a that strange as in how is she doing it? He's trying to figure out how she's cheating on him. It's a nurse in
Yeah. I guess that kind of goes along with it, with what Blake was saying too. Yeah. And then I think he's kind of disappointed. Anyone get any of that? Or is this just Daniel or crumble, Daniel being Daniel, depending on how you look at it? I don't know. I think he sort of dismisses it. She's a subtle whore. And then Desdemona comes in. And I guess we won't talk about the anymore. We've covered the weird thing that he calls Amelia a subtle whore that she's praying, right? Do we need to talk about that again? Okay. I wonder if that was a confirmation bias thing. I look up and I just saw one head shaking, so because I didn't want to talk about it, I used that to confirm. I know, like everybody else could have been saying yes, please, and I just noticed the one head shaking, and I'm like, oh, that's what I wanted. I wonder. So then he starts. Desdemona comes in. Come, swear it, damn thyself. Let's go 80 through the end of the page. Can I get a Othello and a Desdemona? Give me a Des. Give me an Othello. Okay, I'll go. By heaven, you do me wrong. Are you not a strumpet? No, as I am a Christian, to preserve this vessel for my Lord from any other foul, unlawful touch. Be not to a strumpet, and none. What? Not a whore? No, but I shall be saved. Is it possible? Oh, heaven forgive us. I cry you mercy then. I took you for that cunning whore of Venice that married with Othello. All right. Yes, that was horrible. I don't care.
Why doesn't she just ask him why he thinks that? She just, it's like, it's really frustrating that she just keeps saying stuff like, oh, good heavens. And
Yeah. So on one point, it's, I mean, they've got this serious communication issue here, right? Either that or there's something else going on, right? Oh, heaven forgive us. So Othello, and I'm saying that he's like, what, are you not a strumpet? And then I took you for that cunning whore of Venice. It's like, hey man, when I married you, I married the cunning whore of Venice. What's Miss Virtuous doing here, right? Anybody get any of that? All right, shake no vehemently if you're shaking no vehemently, because all I'm seeing is my confirmation bias, not yeses. No? Okay.
I think he's accusing her of being
Okay.
No, it's not that that she actually is that, or like she's known in Venice as that. He's just accusing her of being that. It's like, oh, well then you must not be the woman I married, because the woman I married is this. So he's trying to say.
So the woman he married is the whore of Venice or isn't the whore of Venice?
Isn't, but he's calling her that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the respectable reading. I agree with that. So I just, but I don't, right? Because I also think that he wants her to be the whore of Venice,
Right.
because he's been investing a lot of fantasy time here, you know, her having, you know, like goats and monkey sex with Cassio while he sits there gaping on, right? So like if you think about like I don't know, like, has anyone ever almost won Ferrari before? And you were like one person away, you know, it was between two people at your high school raffle. And you're looking at the Ferrari and you're like, oh yeah, man, I could be just like Justin Timberlake and run it back and forth down my driveway really fast and get yelled at by my neighbor and then spit on him and then get sued. Because I'm a G. And you think about that, and then all of a sudden, and then you don't get the Ferrari. That sucks, right? So he's got this Ferrari, you know, the whore of Venice here, and it turns out she's not. It's gotta be very disappointing. What? Not a whore? So yeah, I think that Mr. Rose's reading is probably more right. But no, not more right, just right also, I guess. Okay. So so the Cassio murder in Act 5 finally arouses old Black Vengeance to act, and it's in explicitly sexual terms. 109. Do this. I'm running out of time. Do this a moment. Strumpet I come. Blah 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 blah. So strangles her. Better, since in Othello's mind, the only way to be truly content, that is satisfied, is to be dead. Remember, he says at the end, in my sense, 'tis happiness to die, after he fails to kill Iago. And then so he was able to certainly satisfy his lusty young wife by strangling her. Oh, happiness, he says. His final words is that last speech is famous because T.S. Eliot. Has anyone ever heard of T.S. Eliot? Wrote The Wasteland, love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. I grow old, I shall wear the bottom of my trousers rolled. And I always say that when I walk around the house. I grow old. And so soft you a word or two before you go. I have done the state some service and they know it. Blah 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 blah. Nothing accentuate nor set down in malice may you speak of one that loved not wisely but too well, of one not easily jealous but being wrought perplexed in the extreme. So he's just trying to make himself look like self-justify himself in the way that we've seen people do. Anybody buy it? I mean, do we feel sorry for Othello?
No, he was dumb.
Yeah. I mean, I find myself feeling more sorry for Iago. Because at least Iago wanted to think well of people. Othello apparently didn't. Okay, enough of Iago. Let's get to Desdemona. What do we think about Desdemona? Anybody agree with my she had it coming controversial statement from last week? Anyone?
Only because she didn't communicate.
She didn't communicate?
She could have prevented it, possibly.
Yeah, she could have prevented it. Okay. So first we got to talk about Desdemona in two senses because she's two things. Great. All of that lecture didn't get taken. My stupid microphone was over there. Wonderful. Just great, man. I quit. Going home. So Desdemona is she's her primary role in the play is, I mean, we get to know her a little bit, but this isn't like, she's not like the heroine, right? We don't like go in and follow her on her journey. Her primary role is the object of everybody's desire, right? Mm-hmm. So let's set up our old triangle. So we've got big Y, little x, little a. That's the object. All right. So this, as it turns out, is different for everybody, but it's all Desdemona. All right, and who all are X's here? This is a hint, but there's a lot of branches. Cassio. Iago. Rodrigo. Othello. Absolutely. Maybe Amelia too. I'll put her up there just for kicks. So who's this? Maybe. I can't think of anything better. Let's just leave it blank. I mean, like for Othello, it's Cassio. For Rodrigo, it's Iago. For Iago, it's I don't know who. For Cassio, it's Othello. For Brabantio, it's Othello. But nobody thinks that they're that, right? Okay, but they all have kind of different pictures of Desdemona. They're all wanting something else. So Rodrigo. Does anybody remember Rodrigo actually saying anything about? Why does Rodrigo like Desdemona? Anybody remember him saying anything about her? Yeah, we don't know what he's into with her, right? Yeah. We just know that he's into her.
Just because he can't have her?
Yeah, possibly. I think we're in the land of speculation here. So we don't know what Rodrigo's Desdemona looks like. What's Cassio's Desdemona look like?
That's the best version of her.
Yeah, he calls her Divine Desdemona. Because we know Cassio's got a thing for her, right? I mean, we don't know if he'll ever act on it because he's got his hooker, right? That he has no intention of marrying. Right? Do you remember that conversation? When he's joking with, but of course he's joking with Iago. Who knows what he really thinks? But a lot of people usually read this as he's got that whole virgin whore dichotomy thing, where Bianca's his whore that he uses, and Divine Desdemona is held up as the extreme of purity. They have that talk with Iago when Iago's calling her sport for Jove, and he's like, yeah, don't you think that she's asking for it? And he's like, oh no, man, she's divine, very modest and inviting eye. But I think that we're going to look at it, so I'm not going to get too far into that. But he also, at the same time, has some sort of inappropriate imaginings of. In that same scene I was talking about, he's very much picturing her with Othello, making the sheets merry or whatever. So divine Desdemona / porn actress. Okay. All right. Othello. What is Othello's Desdemona? We spent a class and a half talking about this. So on the one hand, this, Whore of Venice, something else.
He's got the Madonna horror thing working too.
Yes, very much. And Rob Montio, I called him Barb Montio, Freudian slip.
Vestal version, kind
Slash.
The white ew or
Yeah, the drugged whore. Uh-oh. Starting to see a pattern here. Iago. What does Iago think of Desdemona? I'll put tool. And he's got that weird thing where he confesses that he's like, I love her, and it's not just with lust. He says, granted, part of it's that that I just want revenge, but I think he might actually love her. And if you think about it, so he calls her sport for Jove. He refers to her as Othello's Carac, which is a treasure ship, right, or lawful prize. So he talks about her like she's just this thing to be won, but he treats her, and when he analyzes her, he's pretty right on. And I submit to you that only one of these men actually, considers Desdemona to be a person. He's the only one that recognizes that she's neither a virgin nor a whore. Kind of recognizes that she has sexual appetites, but not, off the charts one way or the other. Doesn't idealize her. That's clear when he talks to when he talks to Cassio about it. Cassio really idealizes her, and Iago doesn't. So he seems. I think that he's got a. I think Iago's the guy that's really for Desdemona, but that's just me. Even Desdemona falls into the virgin whore thing. I mean, think about it, right?
So why would Iago make up all these lies about Desdemona if he cared about her and she was happy with Othello?
Why do we do the things that we do? Yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong. So that's Desdemona as object, and then Desdemona as subject. This is our subject chart. So problems always incompatible desires. What does Desdemona want? It's the dark continent of female desire. Othello? Sure. Who knows?
She didn't deny it. She never, we've been talking about, she never, said, Othello, where are you getting this from?
Yeah.
She was like, okay.
Maybe I am. Well, I mean, I guess does she even know? Okay. All right, it's 3. We've got to get through 17. I've got 20 minutes if I don't give the quizzes back. All right, let's crank. So, Brabantio's take, drug. All right, so this is the question above here is, why does Desdemona love Othello? He's an old guy. Seems pretty cool, right? I know every time I see an old guy that seems pretty cool, I fall in love with him. Brabantio's take is that drugs and witchcraft, and when he says witchcraft, I think that we're supposed to assume that there's some sort of, voodoo magic, sexual witchcraft, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, witchcraft. Othello's take, let's go page 19 and 20. Hopefully I knew what I was doing when I wrote this. Okay, yeah, so this is all, everybody's giving their versions of how they fell in love. So Othello says, and so he's explaining it, and he says, her father loved me. That's the first thing, the first reason that he gives to why Desdemona loves him, right? And so her father loved me, oft invited me, still questioned me the story of my life from year to year, the battles, sieges, fortunes that I have passed. I ran it through, even from my boyish days, blah, 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 blah. So why does the father love him? He's the most interesting man in the world. He's got these super cool stories. And so invited me in to tell him stories. And then we look at the next page, and why does Desdemona love him? According to him.
Awesome stories.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and she'd come again, and with greedy ear devour up my discourse. So they, yeah, that she wished that heaven had made her such a man. So, so how would we characterize Brabantio's love for Othello? It doesn't. I mean, is it sexual? Is it?
It's like a man crush.
Yeah, it's like the way that it's the way that we all feel about the most interesting man in the world. Right? You're like So I guess the question is, like it's to the old mimetic desire thing. Like he doesn't want him, he wants to be him, right?
So how do you do that?
Yeah.
If
So but the question that I want to raise here is what kind of love does Desdemona have for Othello?
Sounds the same, like she wants to be him.
Yeah. She says right here, yet she wished that heaven had made her such a man. So we can read that as made such a man for her, but that would be saying something different than what Othello says, right? So yeah. So let's go to Desdemona's desire graph. So we put Desdemona in the X position. So the dominant Y would be the dominant Y. Othello.
Desire can be his experiences, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna put a question mark in quotation marks because I got talked to today about using too many quotation marks in an article. So I'm gonna put everything in quotation marks. So yeah, so we talked about that. Perfect. Yeah, if we can trust Othello, then that. But the weird thing is who do you think was the dominant Y before Othello? Yeah. And we remember from Brabantio's tragedy on one of the first days we talked about this, that and we see it right here on page 21, she specifically explains her act as in terms of, Dad, I'm replacing you. And so we got, and then Othello's replaced, or Othello replaces Brabantio. And so it's just sort of this, you're my daddy now. And I put ew here because my roommate in college's girlfriend would scream that in the middle of the night and just wake up the whole house. And you're just like, ugh. See, that was a real cringe. That was like the real thing. Anyway, so there's surely a lot of reasons, Freudian and otherwise, that she would, unconsciously, consciously, whatever, sort of code her relationship to men through the model of fatherhood. But note how different this situation is to, remember Hermia from Midsummer Night's Dream, who was in this exact same situation and sort of got the exact same outcome, right? But hers was a very, very different. She makes the same choice very differently. Lysander is no Othello, to say the least. So do you remember Hermia's love-sustaining strategy? We talked about the different strategies.
We made up obstacles.
Yeah, making up obstacles, right? So we call this deferral. Okay, so this is the fantasy object becomes the obstacle that sustains the comedy and prevents consummation. That's why, that's why Pyramus and Thisbe were kissing the wall, and like once the wall was gone, it was tragic. And then Helena's strategy is the same thing but more fun. And is this what Desdemona does? No, she does something different. Do you remember the other strategy for sustaining desire in Midsummer Night's Dream? The Theseus strategy? So we've got the Lucy, Jane, Betty, Jeff, etc. Right?
Variety.
Yeah. So just you attain the object of desire, and then notch in the bedpost, notch in the bedpost, notch in the bedpost, notch in the bedpost. So does maybe. I mean, I honestly don't think that there's any evidence that she ever slept with Brabantio, but so it'd be a different thing. So so common sense suggests, and they've done the bus studies seem to confirm that this is not an uncommon male strategy, for all the reasons we've discussed. Women, of course, are no strangers to using the same strategy, but for a variety of biological reasons, which we've discussed, and cultural reasons, which we haven't discussed as much, but famous double standards for adultery in most, not all cultures. It's more difficult, less common, and more stigmatized when women do this, right? I think about like George Clooney, right? Serial dates a lot of women, right? And everybody kind of thinks that he's just kind of cool, right? But like say Taylor Swift serially dates a lot of dudes, and everybody thinks she's psycho and can't keep a man, right? Does anyone disagree with me on this? It's a horrible double standard, but it's there. So I mentioned this. It's one of my favorite. Yeah.
I think the difference is Clooney is the dumper, and Taylor Swift is always the dumped.
Sure seems that way, doesn't it? I mean, those stories are always hotly contested, especially by Taylor Swift. But
She had a house next to her boyfriend.
the Kennedy, yeah, that was creepy. That's
The Kennedys end for that one direction.
it's a warning sign. God, and my daughter loves her. I guess this is what happens, like my mom wasn't crazy about Eazy-E either, so it all comes along. So we used to have this great diagnosis called hysteria. Now, you guys informed me when I brought it up in class. It kind of hurt my feelings that you can no longer say this, but you can. You can say whatever you want. It's this kind of loosey-goosey catch-all phrase they used to diagnose neuroses in women. So it was just, in men it was neuroses, in women if you were acting kooky it was hysteria. The origins are in the old wandering womb diagnoses. Anyone know what the wandering womb diagnosis is? There's a great scene in Pericles. The wandering womb diagnosis is she's acting crazy because her womb has sort of got out of its proper place and is kind of wandering around, and it's causing psychological problems. So can anyone guess what the prescribed cure for wandering womb was?
An orgasm?
Ideally, but just in the main point, this is good folk psychology thing. Has anyone ever met somebody that really needed to get laid? Yeah, so it's that. So I have that it persists in modern folk psychology and the diagnosis of country song doctors who prescribe love. There's always these old country song doctors. I went to the doctor. What did he tell me? You need to find love, man. Okay, so that's a sort of a version. So one of Freud's first contributions to psychology was to show that men could be hysterics too. The term has tragically fallen out of use, but there are two features of the classic hysteric of psychoanalysis that I think are worth mentioning. Maybe write these down, or you can just go back and watch the podcast. I think this is going to be one of the least good podcasts because of the audio quality. One is over-identification with the father's desire. So the non-hysteric wants to be the object of desire, and the hysteric desires the object of desire. So, and then gets confused to what that means. But remember Girard's mimetic desire? So when you know, like the mimetic desire works, that you know they don't want the object, they just want what the other person wants. Remember that? So it's just that. So that's actually where Girard got it from. He didn't even know it. But so that's one thing that hysterics do. But what makes it hysteric and not just Girardian is what the hysteric really wants. The real object of the hysteric's desire is the father with a capital F-like figure that will reliably show him or her what to desire. Because in shifting the desire from, you know, this becomes the object of desire, everything gets screwed up and then they become completely alienated from this. The hysteric famously just has no idea the object that he or she wants. It doesn't even factor in. She's just looking for the person that can mediate it. So the hysteric's object is the dominant Y. So that's why it's different than Theseus's, right? So you've got Brabantio getting crossed out for Othello is not the same thing as the, you know, what I call the normal dude desire, the Lucy Jane Betty Jeff thing, right? Is everybody following me here?
Yeah. Didn't
Okay.
hysteria come after childbirth or something like that? Wasn't that?
Sometimes. I mean, it was such a catch-all. It was so loose of a concept, and Freud actually never was able to cure any hysterics.
Oh.
But yeah, it's I mean, it's just one of those things that any time you go and try to define it and actually look at the literature of the time of what people were calling hysteria, it's so all over the map. So yeah, and I could teach a whole course in hysteria, but maybe I will. That would be great. So the hysterics pattern is to seek out the perfect, you know, capital F father. So what hysterics? One typical path of hysterics is to find heroic, brilliant, larger-than-life figures. So they will go after older men, powerful men, you know, politicians, priests, married men, just, you know, like things that are just beyond the reach of the normal human being. And so because the idea is these people are, you know, like so much bigger and so much better. Got to crank it up. We are running out of time. But then they find a flaw because nobody's actually larger than life, and they find out that the big politician guy is actually just a doof. Then the hysteric leaves him because he completely invested, thought he was the one. So the refrain of the hysteric is, "That's not it." It's like, I thought that was it. That's not it. And then so when you see like powerful men get creamed by these sort of, you know, like, why did he fall for her, and why did he lose his wife and everything for that? And then there's just like some girl that's just like, oh yeah, I don't like Tiger anymore, and that's how that happens. So again, why does Desdemona love Othello? Let's go to page 23, where she says that I love the more to live with him. My downright violence. So this is her. This is what she says is her rational explanation for loving the more to live with him. It's just the downright violence of her passion. She wants to go to war. And to his honors and his valiant parts I my soul and fortunes consecrate. So if you read this, which we don't have time to really do, you will find that the man she loves is, you know what's a better, page 75. That's shorter. This is where she says, but my noble Moor is true of mind and made so no such baseness as jealous creatures are. That word to put him to ill thinking. So she thinks that he's above human desire. And the other one, you just see that she's into his honor, his visages, his unreadability, the fact that he seems to be above petty things like jealousy and love and passion. She's like, he's the dominant wife. He's got it all figured out. He doesn't need anything. This is the thing that I want to be like. If I can find out what Othello wants, then I can find out what I want, and I'll be a happy hysteric. There's no such thing as a happy hysteric. Well, I guess they're all happy. So the French psychoanalyst that I quote sometimes because he's good for quotes, his answer to the famous question of what does a woman want is a master to manipulate and deceive. And yes, he considered all women to be at least mildly hysteric. All right, page 58. So yeah, so this is her. This is when she's pleading her case for Cassio, and I think this is something that confuses Othello, because when she's pleading her case for Cassio, she's treating Othello like a husband, or like maybe a little kid. Like, I was thinking she keeps nagging him. Well, how about now? How about now? He's like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. You know, she's like a spoiled kid with an indulgent dad, right? So if you read this, 58 and 59 might be on the test. Her relationship with Othello is like, she's like a teenage girl trying to manipulate an older man, you know, slash father, but she's a teenage girl and Othello's an older man. So this is more of a father-daughter relationship. So it's like a child begging for ice cream. She's got very, you know, like childish, lover-like impatience, you know, like a teen girl begging to be allowed on a date. And then Othello gives in on 75. Prithee no more, let him come when he will, I will deny thee nothing. Gross. All right, and then we talk about her obedience. So guilty, innocent, unconscious, or whatever. Desdemona is way too obsessed about Cassio for this to be nothing, right? I mean, she's taken this on. But as she points out on line 89, which I guess is on the next page, I am obedient. And she's kind of kidding, you know, like she's nagging, you know, crossing the line, and you can tell she probably did this with her dad. But I'm obedient. You can't say I'm not obedient, and that's the thing that we saw later comes and bites her in the butt. And so what does she mean by obedient? Is it sincerity in the heart, obedience? We know what Othello thinks from later, but here in this case, where she's deliberately not being obedient, but stepping back finally just for a little while and about to commence again. Is that really being obedient? Like if my dog Gushy does that, should I be satisfied? No. So let's revisit this real quick. Desire 1 is to have Othello, your father. Desire 2 is to be Othello / father. Incompatible desires. Let's go to page 98. We know what this. Oh yeah, and her relationship with knowledge. What's her relationship with knowledge? This is huge, especially toward the end. Claims ignorance. I know nothing. What's a whore? Why does everyone keep calling me that? Why does everyone keep telling me to shut up? I just knew somebody who said that once, and it was really funny. The awkward my lord moment with Desdemona. She's stumped lordless without feeling, calls for wedding sheets and Iago. That's weird, right? Prithee tonight, lay on my bed my wedding sheets, remember, and call thy husband hither. Okay, weird. We can go into that, but we don't have time. Cannot say whore, but does on page 99 plus. Yeah, where she says. I can't find it, but she says, I can't say the word whore, but she says it. And then yaps 104, yaps about a bunch of love cliches while interrupting herself. This is a great moment. My love so doth approve him that even his stubbornness, his cheeks, his frowns, prithee unpin me, have grace and favor. So this tells me that she's not being real sincere here. Then below, this Lodovico's a proper man. The next page, she discovers adultery. So after she says Lodovico's a proper man, just mysteriously, are there really women that sleep around on their husbands? Uh-oh. All right, at the end, she sings the Willow Song. But who's she singing the Willow Song for her? If you read the Willow Song carefully, it does not apply to Othello. It applies to her imaginary relationship with Ludovico. It won't be on the test. If you're interested in it, after this moment, she's living in a fantasy. Her romantic fantasy is that she's being cheated on by Lodovico, and Othello's not even part of it, and she's got those weird last words. First she declares her innocence, then she declares her guilt. I would love to spend 10 minutes talking about this. I think she might not be wholly innocent. See you next Monday. That doesn't mean that she deserves to die. But she is guilty, as we all are.